This week, we learned from Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego that it is important to always choose the right thing and to be a good example, even when everyone around us might be making the wrong choice. We saw them say no to the king, that they would not do what he asked them to do by worshiping him because they knew that it was wrong and they knew they were only supposed to worship God. And we saw that when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stood up and said, "We are only going to worship our God," that not only were they kept safe, but that then the rest of the kingdom also worshiped the one true God. We see Jesus giving us the same instructions to do just what Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego did. If we look in the book of Matthew chapter 5 and verse 16, it says, "In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven." We want to make sure that as we're living and we interact with our friends and our neighbors, that we always make the right choice and we show them what the right thing is. And so even if we don't talk to them about Jesus, they will know who we believe in and what we believe by our actions. In the same way, if we look in the book of Titus, chapter 2 and verse 7, we see Paul encouraging Titus to live the same way that Jesus encouraged us to live. It reads, "In everything, make yourself an example of good works with integrity and dignity." And so if we choose in everything that we do to be a good example, then those around us are going to see that example we set, and it's going to encourage them to also make the right choice and to also set a good example. Now we are going to see what that example looks like in the world. Here we have the supplies that we're going to use in our example today. First, we have some milk, and we're going to pour it into our dish, and this milk represents the world around us. So whether that's your neighborhood or maybe your school or someplace where you go like gymnastics or dance, but this is the world in which we live, where we interact with people every day. Of course, in the world in which we interact, there are people, our friends, our neighbors, family members, and so these different dots of color in our world are going to represent those people. They might even be our teachers. And so we have different people that we interact with. So we have several different colors, several different dots throughout our world. And then we have ourselves represented by this Q-tip, and we have our actions. So we're going to dip ourselves into the actions that we take in the world, and then we are going to put them into our world to see how they affect the people around us. We can see that initially there is some reaction by the people in our world, but it doesn't seem to cause an automatic reaction. However, if we keep watching, the longer that our actions are in our community and in the world around us, we will see how they begin to affect those that we interact with. If we turn to the book of Matthew, chapter 7 and verse 12, it says, "Therefore, whatever you want others to do for you, do also the same for them, for this is the law and the prophets." And just like we saw in that pan of milk, when we put our actions into the world, it created a huge reaction from those around us. And so it's important that the actions we put into the world are good actions and are a good example. Not only because we want the people around us to be affected in a positive way, but just like Jesus says in Matthew, we want those around us to do the same for us. We want their good actions and their good examples to have a positive reaction on us. So this week, I'm going to challenge you to set a good example and try really hard to focus on making positive choices and taking positive actions in your life.